Well, greetings. We're just warming this thing up. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hey, Chipload is here. Hey, man. Nice to see you here. I don't think I've seen you on the YouTube side.
Well, greetings.
Uh-oh. I gotta kill my audio here.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
There we go. So I just have hey, Kevin. Welcome aboard. I guess we're getting there. So I'm just getting used to my new layout here, a new control panel here. I'm able to do much more with just the YouTube. Hey, Brian, welcome aboard. Well, I guess we're here, top of the hour. Let's turn off the standby. We're live. Hello. How are you? It's 1 o'clock on the East Coast. And my son came in earlier. He looked at the graphics I had up. And he says, how come you say 1300 ET and not EST? And I said, because I can never remember if it's EST or EDT, so I just leave it. And that's the truth. That's what I do. So that was pretty funny. Anyway, welcome aboard, everyone. I have a couple of cool things to show you. So this is the first YouTube only PFG Live that we've done, and because of that, we're able to do some cool things. And one of the cool things that I want to show you that we're going to do like right now is that. So the chat, ding. The chat will appear live on the screen for your own amusement. And I know that the video gets saved with the chat. That's cool. But we're playing around here. So the chat is right there. That's one of the things we can't do on Instagram. And if I did it and didn't have it on Instagram, people would... Hey! CJ, welcome aboard. Uncomfortable? Unconformable. I think you have a typo. Dude, you have a typo. Anyway. Yeah, Brian, nice to see you. Good? I think we're all here. That was interesting. So, happy Sunday morning. It is December 4th. And it started getting cold out. So the heat's on. You might hear it blowing in the background. And this place is warming up. So what do you got? What have you guys been up to? Are you working today, or are you drinking hot cocoa? Hey, there's Carl. Welcome aboard, Carl. Thank you for joining. The topic of the day. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about temperature, in particular the temperature observations that I've done on the grinder, which are pretty interesting. And there's a punchline that I didn't expect, which we'll get to. Unconformable. Chris is here. Chris says, I can't play bass. Moved my speakers and my woofer is NFG. That's all right, buddy. We're not going to get you in trouble. Oh, DJ Berg is working on airfoils in Fusion 360. That's pretty cool. You know, you could probably run some simulations in Fusion. What do you think? I know you could do airflow type simulations, but I don't know if you'll get any like useful airfoil information out of it. But that'd be really cool. So my morning was finishing up 4-inch stones. If you've been following along on Instagram, 4-inch stones were back ordered, like for several weeks. And can you guess what the most popular PFG stone is in my arsenal? You would be correct. It's the 4-inch stones. So I was getting very nervous. My inventory was sitting at 0 for weeks. So we finally got them in. They over-delivered. So we got to sort out a problem with the ordering. But basically, I got lots of them, and just finished up 8 sets of 4-inch stones, and they came out gorgeous. So we're gonna get these shipped on Monday. Oh, neat. DJ Berg. Well, you see, here's one of the weird things. I don't really have to say, I don't have to repeat what you put in chat anymore. That was a throwback to Instagram. Because on Instagram, you didn't get any information on what's going on in chat. So if somebody puts something on in chat, I'd have to repeat it, because then when you save the video, all of that was lost. Now it's kept. So DJ is working them into dies that we roll shapes with. That's pretty neato. Cool. Anyway, welcome aboard. My last week was spent moving my mom from New Jersey up to Massachusetts. And she's got some really nice new digs. Really nice. And we went down to New Jersey. My sister went down, I think, 2 weeks ago, and started packing my mom up. We packed 167 boxes. So what I've spent the last week doing is moving around 167 boxes. It has been totally out of control. But I'm happy to report that Mom is installed and functional. The apartment is looking good. Still a lot of unpacking to do. Yes, Mom is going to be between 50 minutes and 1 hour away, depending on traffic. And I'm very happy about that, because previously it was 6 hours away, and that was problematic. Hey, Bart! Bart's here! Welcome aboard, Bart. Yeah, 167 boxes, bud. Question. In turning and milling, most of the spindle power goes to heating the chips. Do you think this is true of grinding as well? I'm not sure I agree with that, first of all. Your Honor, I object to the premise of the question. So the premise of the question is, when you cut something, the heat goes out with the chip. I'm going to call bullshit on that. I know we hear that a lot. You're generating heat when you're ripping the material apart, and that heat has two places to go. It can go into the work or into the chip. If you make teeny weeny chips, you don't have a lot of heat going into the chip because of the mass of the chip. If you have great big honkin' chips, that's where I think the phrase came from. If you get your cut right, most of the heat goes into the chips. You see, they're turning blue. Well, they're turning blue because they have more mass. No, they're turning blue because they get hotter. So I think there's something to it. My solution, of course, is lots of coolant. And don't let the work get too hot. DJ Berg says it depends on the insert design. I think it depends on the chip you're taking. It's a good question. It's a good question. I could see a larger chip has a larger thermal cross section, or a larger, say it a different way, a larger cross section for thermal flux. Yeah. No, I do think that in milling, if you take too small of a cut, you're not taking, heat is not leaving with the chip, for sure. And of course, if you take a really too small cut in milling, you end up rubbing, and that's no good. That's a good question. I like it. Hey, Paul's here. Welcome aboard, Paul. Nice to see you. Still no Andy. Where's Andy? Andy? He's not behind. He's not back there. See, now I can see how many people are viewing. We have 11 people live. Isn't that cool? Oh, Bart is working on an Instagram series about lathe cutting forces and heat. I will be very, very eager to see that. That will be very cool. See what I did there? It'd be very cool. Well, I'm glad you bring up thermal stuff today, because that was part of my experiments this past week, as small as they were. I did set up some thermocouples and started doing some measurements, gross measurements, on the grinder. And the reason is that Adam Demuth, our good friend and wonderful toolmaker, has been using a aquarium heater on his coolant tank to keep his coolant up to room temperature, so that the coolant doesn't drag the temperature of the work down. CJ says it's very cool, and Bart says no, it's very hot. That's excellent. So what I did, if you followed me on Instagram, you saw that I added 2 thermocouples, one taped to the base of the grinder, one taped to the column of the grinder, and then a third thermocouple on a long probe sticking into my coolant tank. And I kind of watched what was going on, and I did start taking real data and writing in my notebook today. So I'll have some real graphs, because I got some grief because I didn't have graphs and arrows and lines and numbers and stuff. So what I learned was quite interesting. But we'll get to that in a minute. I got a couple of other things to talk about. Chris is here, right? The Chris gauges are still awaiting lasering. So we're going to laser. This is my setup piece. Let me show you a live actual Chris gauge, which is hiding here. Oh. So there's a real Chris gauge, all finished. It came out really nice. So we're going to engrave some nomenclature on here for Chris, and then we're going to get these delivered. But Chris has to work with me. Work with me here, buddy. You got to work with me and get the artwork sorted out. And then we're going to use the setup piece to figure out our laser settings. Although I think I know that the laser settings are ready to go, so we will try that. So that's a project that's underway. It's not finished until it's shipped, okay? And the shipping department is right there. So Chris, we got to talk. So I talked about the YouTube switchover. Let me talk a little more about the YouTube switchover. So one of the reasons I wanted to go to YouTube only was so we could do a lot cooler things, and we were getting hamstrung by the Instagram capabilities. So one of the things we could do is have guests, and we could have demos with other camera views and things like that. For example, if I hit this here button, we have a new they call this scenes, a new scene. And what I'm doing here is I'm importing right there. I'm importing this video from my camera feed that I use to keep track of my 3D printers, just as an example. So we could have a screen here where we're showing a process, or we could have 2 guests over here, right? We could have 3 guests, or or whatever. And I think it's going to be really useful for transmitting information and helping spread the education. So I'm pretty excited about that. Happy to be on YouTube only. This is OBS. No, you're soaking in it. This is OBS. So OBS is the software, and then it streams to YouTube and it goes out on YouTube. You just can't do that with Instagram. Instagram will not accept any input except from your phone. So everything we've done streaming on Instagram live has been done from this iPhone. But everything you've seen streaming from here on YouTube has been through OBS, which is exactly what's happening right now. Except we could never use I didn't want to use the cool features, although I think we did once or twice maybe. I didn't want to use the cool features and leave everybody on Instagram hanging. So today, this was it. We made the break. I'm happy. I think we don't look back and we keep going. So one of the upcoming lives I want to put together is with a couple of guests, so we can take live questions and talk about it. And I'll leave it to your imagination as to which guests I'm going to have on first, but I'm going to have to get them scheduled. So this is just a little demo of the power of OBS and our ability to do some really cool stuff. I'm pretty excited about it. So we'll still be on Instagram. I'll still be posting regular Instagram posts. We just won't be doing the lives, except for maybe random lives. Nope. We're just using more of the power. We're just using the Force, Luke. So it's interesting. Let me go back to the main presentation here, see if this is. Yeah. So when I went to the very fancy presentation for you nerds, okay. When I went to the very fancy presentation, I started getting warnings about the processing, and that's a function, I believe, of the computer. Okay, Carl says, please continue to read chat posts to make it easier for people watching the video to follow. Happy to do that. It's sort of become normal, so we'll do it. Anyway, I'm very excited about this. This is looking good. I'm eager to see what the rendered video looks like with all of our fancy changes. The other thing I'm able to do is I'm able to record this video locally. So I'm doing both. And that makes me happy from a redundancy standpoint. So DJ Berg says he finds it easiest to watch on one screen and chat through his phone. That's awesome. See that? We didn't have that capability before, so I'm pretty excited about it. And we will continue to innovate as much as we can, and put cameras in places that they weren't previously. Don't read too much into that. So that's the YouTube switchover. It looks like it's going to be a win, and I'm happy about it. So what did we learn on thermal instrumentation on the grinder? So this was triggered by it getting cold, because it got cold. And then my heater started coming on. And I have a forced hot air. DJ says, chat through his phone while procrastinating doing what I was doing. Yeah, I know. So I have a big, the generic term of art is a Modine, right? Because that's a brand. But I have a forced hot air propane fired heater up in the corner, and it blows this way across the shop. And if I turn it on a couple hours before I come down, things start warming up. So in my mind, I pictured that the grinder and its casting, the base and the column and all the cast iron, was a pretty big thermal mass. And I further thought that if I pumped my coolant over my mag chuck turned up to PFG, okay, maximum, that the chuck would warm up a little bit, which it does, and the coolant is going over the now warming machine, and that the coolant would come up to speed. Here's what I learned that was very surprising. The coolant itself, the 30 gallons, it might be a little more than that, but the 30 gallons of coolant is the largest thermal mass in the system. The casting of the grinder came up to temperature along with the room temperature way faster than I expected. Chris says, Modine heaters are made in Missouri. I've serviced their factory. Today's worthless information. Thank you, Chris. Actually, this is not a Modine, just full disclosure. And Chris, you'll know who this is. I'm wrong. Oh my God. It is a Modine. It says hot dog, which is the style or the unit name, by Modine. I'm now reading my label. It is a Modine. It's an original. Thank you, Chris. So this is a real Modine. Danny Bradley says, I was made in Missouri too. We don't want to know about the manufacturing process. Okay, that might be proprietary. Anyway, so the heater is a hot air. The other thing I learned that was really interesting is as the room warmed up and I took my laser thermometer and I started measuring the floor surface, I fully expected the floor to be cold. Hey, K-Bonk, welcome aboard. And the floor was way warmer than I thought. It was over 60. So the room, the thermostat set to 68 or 69, depending how I'm feeling. And as the room came up to temperature, the floor came up to temperature. I'm like, that's weird, because it's a pretty thick floor based on observations of machines moving. It's solid as a rock. Nothing moved. So that was a surprise, which might mean I can't believe there's any insulation under the floor. But anyway, the coolant was the hardest thing to change temperature with, or of. Yeah, so DJ Berg says it's 100% evaporation season, so much water dissipation with the temperature variance versus ambient. So I do see a lot of evaporation from the coolant tank. And I am frequently replenishing with water and not needing coolant. So I know that there's evaporation happening. But I'll tell you, getting the 30 gallons of coolant up to temperature is the slowest, hardest thing in the process. So then I got to thinking about what Adam Demuth said about doing his precision work. And so he started using a cheap aquarium heater just to keep it at room temperature. Now I understand. So I'm not going to worry about the grinder itself, but I want the coolant to be at room temperature. So I ordered an oil pan heater, magnetic oil pan heater, or block heater, and a control off of Amazon. And if you guys want, I'll put the. Carl says you're in New Hampshire. The floor is insulated. Maybe. If that's true, it's not surprising if that were true. I know when I built my shop in the next town over, I did some serious insulating, but I was also radiant heating, so I don't know. I've never drilled an exploratory hole in this floor. Oh, DJ Berg suggests a water trough heater for livestock. That's interesting. Well, so what's been ordered off of Amazon is a mag heater and drill for truth, Adam says. Welcome, Adam. I will probably drill at some point, and we'll all be surprised. I ordered a mag heater. Okay, it's going to go on the side of the coolant tank at the center. Okay. and it has a thermal a controller. The combination of costs for those two things was $98. So it wasn't a lot of money. Did you get condensation when you turn on heaters? No. I do not get condensation. So the propane burner intake and exhaust are both outside. So there's no moisture being formed from the combustion. I have no issues with condensation in here. Knock on wood. It's been pretty cool. Yeah, Adam, I guess I conjured you up. Glad you're here, and thank you for joining. I just realized this might be the first time you've been on the YouTube side, so that's awesome. So I'm very excited about my heater and controller coming from Amazon. It'll be here this week, and we'll fire it up, and I'll set it to 68 degrees, and I'll just leave it, and we'll see what happens. Like I said, the grinder itself surprisingly came up to temperature pretty quickly. So I totally opposite of what I expected. So there you go. Take that for what it's worth. So I started, while I was doing the stones this morning, I was doing the sides of the stones. I took data, and I will plot the data, and we'll look at it. My right shoulder, yeah, right shoulder. Yeah, right here is a fan. So the heater blows this way, okay? And then sitting on top of my VMC, I have a fan blowing this way. And then right there, right, hang on, I'll find my finger. Right here are two welding curtains hanging between the lathe area and the grinding area. And the top curtain is on the grinder side. So that fan kind of blows the air through that curtain like that. It kind of pushes that out of the way. So we get pretty good mixing of air in here. What is a mag heater? Can you describe more? I just want to see what it looks like. Yes, a mag heater, I'll tell you what it looks like. And if I was a little faster with my fingers here, I could actually bring up the web page for you, but I don't think I'm going to do that. It looks like a block, okay, about that big, and it's got a handle on it and a cord coming out of it, and that's it. And it's a 200-watt heater with a magnet, and it's meant to go on an oil pan. You slam it on an oil pan, and you plug in. It keeps your engine block warm, and it's really boring to look at. And then there's a temperature controller, which is just got a pigtail with some outlets on it, and it will and a thermocouple, and it will control temperature of anything. So the combination of those two is the whole system. So that mag heater is going to go plunk on the side of the coolant tank. The other thing I did is I started wrapping some insulation around the bottom of the coolant tank. I did a first cut. We'll do more. But that combination will be operational before the next live. And I will show, I'll put pictures up on Instagram. So yeah, I could bring up, I could probably do it right here. No, I'm not going to do it. Let me get a couple hours under my belt with this new system, and then we'll do fancy things like go browsing live. But like I said, the combination of those two things was a $98 order, which I thought was qualified as cheap. Now, so Adam did an aquarium heater, and I'm doing an oil block heater, or an oil pan heater. Yep, you found them. And the controller, I don't remember the brand name. I think it has maybe do a sealed system to keep the water from evaporating. It's not evaporating fast enough to make me want to change anything. So I could. Yeah, 200 watts might not be enough. We'll find out. All it's got to do is come up to 68 degrees. That's all I want. And that's about 15 degrees Fahrenheit rise over ambient. Yes, we'll take. Like I said, I'm willing to fail for $98. I'm happy to fail, and I think the controller is good to. Well, I don't remember, but it was ample to handle the 200 watts. The other thing I observed on the coolant is that it's not that the coolant doesn't warm up, because it does. It just warms up real slowly. Let me grab my notebook. I'll be right back. So this morning, the heat was already on in the shop for about a half hour. So the heat was on it for about a half an hour. At 8:42, the coolant temperature was 55 Fahrenheit. The column and the base was 57 Fahrenheit. So the column and base of the grinder were already warming up because of the warm air circulating. Okay. About a little more than an hour later, after warm-up had completed, I just did the warm-up cycle, no coolant pumping. The coolant was unsurprisingly still at 55, and the column and the base of the grinder came up to 61. And interestingly, they were the same number. The column and the base, those two thermocouples were the same. And then I started grinding. So at 11 minutes after 10 o'clock, 62 and 63 for the grinder, and then it started coming up. So at 12:19, which is when I finished grinding and started getting some lunch and getting ready for this live, the grinder was up to 67 degrees, which was almost room temperature, and the coolant was still only 60 degrees. So it was coming up, but it was coming up very slowly. So if I could just get a jump on it, I'll be very happy. We'll see what happens. Yes, I shut down the shop heat every night. I shouldn't say that. There's a minimum temperature, which I believe is 50 degrees. I think I have it set to 50 degrees. So the shop will stay at 50 degrees. It pulls back, but it doesn't pull back all the way. I wonder if I could look that up on my phone here. We use Nest thermostats for our thermostats. And our schedule, yep, I was correct, is 50 degrees, 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And if somebody can convert that to Celsius for our other friends. So really it's only coming up for 19 degrees when I fire up the shop. So that helps a little bit. So I will report if that's a good solution, man. It'll be cheap and easy. I can't wait. Can't wait to see it. And it'll help when we're chasing tenths, right? What, the overnight? K-Bonk says might want to bump that up a bit. Yeah, the problem is if I'm not in the shop, it's throwing money out the window. So there's a balance. And really the coolant tank is the only thing in the shop that I'm really worried about. So we'll see what happens. Or if I get real smart, well, no, see, let me take that back. The other day, I think it was Friday morning, I woke up really early. Couldn't sleep. So I immediately fired up the shop temperature. So it was up for 2 or 3 hours before I was really down here. And man, that coolant tank, that 30 gallons, it does not want to move. So that's the focus. All right. So that's the story. Let's see if I oh, one other thing. So we started to use, for lighting control in the house, we started to use the Lutron Cassetta system. And they have what they call an outdoor controllable outlet. It's a weatherproof control box, and it's meant for lights and Christmas lights and stuff like that. Yeah, Carl says it's cheaper to heat the coolant than the shop. That is absolutely true. So this Cassetta system will give me wireless control, and what I can do is I could put that on the heater and turn it on and off if I want. Might not want. I might just leave it. But I ordered a couple of those also to play with. So we'll see what happens. So I think that's most of what I had to throw out on the floor today. Adam says, I turned my heater off for a web chat on Friday. Just remembered this morning when the shop felt a bit chilly. It was down 4 degrees over the weekend, right? The trick is to jam as much cast iron into the smallest space possible. I'll tell you what, Adam, I don't know anybody who's jammed as much cast iron into the space you have. In fact, you got to be careful. You might trigger a black hole event. Almost machining. Sorry to wake you, sir. Thanks for joining. That's really funny. Yeah, if you guys have not seen, everybody here has seen pictures of Adam's shop, but it's like, you know, the nuclear weak force may start taking over and pulling your machines together. You got to be careful. That's very funny. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, you could actually walk between my toolbox and my lathe. There's no excuse for that. So what else? So what are the topics that you guys have that we could talk about and macerate while we're here today? Oh, and just as a commercial, we'll have, at the end of today, we'll have everything in stock. Oh, that's not true. We'll have everything but one size of PFG stones in stock. The last of the 4-inch rounds went out. I've got to make some more of those, which I might do today. Almost Machining says his VFD heats his VFDs. Yeah. That doesn't work that way. K-Bonk says an electric blanket cozy might be a new PFG product. Yeah, to hell with the machinist. Just keep the machine warm. How does the volume heat capacity of cast iron compare with water? I don't know. But by observation, water has it over cast iron. That's my prediction, but we could look it up. Coolant tank diaper. Well, that's what I made. I made a coolant tank diaper. I didn't call it a diaper. I think I called it in one instance, I called it a bikini. In another instance, I called it I think I called it a bikini. We'll find out. And I'm just using that bubble wrap insulation with the foil because I have some rolls of it up there. Mostly because we use that to make antennas in some courses I teach. Brian asks, your recommendation for wheel type, grit, hardness for grinding high-speed steel lathe tool bits. Is this on the surface grinder, Brian? Or is this by hand? $60 ticket recorder says, running an Okamoto 2040 right at this moment. We use an aquarium heater. Outstanding. On the surface grinder. Okay. So, the answer to your question... Sorry, I'm having a bit of a cramp. So high speed tool grinding on the surface grinder. I don't think I would have any problem using the standard setup, 46 grit wheel. If you wanted to get crazy with finish, you can go up to a 60 or 100 grit for finishing. But you also might want to consider roughing roughing by hand and then throwing it on the grinder. I think that I would go, if it was me, the finishes that I've seen that I've been getting off of the 46 grit wheel have been outstanding and plenty good for that. So I would go with a standard 46 grit wheel. Also, the white wheel, the 38A. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. The white wheel will run nice and cool for doing a lathe bit. So I would do it that way. Yeah. K-Bonk says, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, like, all the things. That's funny. Paul says, I have several 26-inch 1,000-watt cartridge heaters that you won in an auction made by Hot Watt. Seems to be an interesting option for something like this. So that's an interesting thing. Are they rated for submersion? That would be a question, because just because it's a cartridge heater, I'm not sure it's rated for submersion. No, the coolant overnight, the coolant is just going to be sitting in the tank. One correction to that. I do have a bubbler in the tank. So I have a bubbler in the tank that I'm using to aerate the coolant, and at the same time we'll have the heater on it. And my friend Adam, one of my collection of Adams, MHM Machining, he suggested that the bubbler will also help, thermally just mix the mass of the coolant. So we'll see what happens. So my setup will be by the end of this week. My setup will be the heater on the side, the bubbler inside, and some insulation around the tank. And we will have some observations for you next time we meet. Yeah, thermals, man. Who'd have thought it would be this interesting? Yeah, Paul says, not sure about submersion. We'll try to read up about that on their site. Of course, we're hackers. If they're not rated for submersion, we'll make them rated for submersion. But definitely check that out. That's a good idea. Let's check if my 3D print is still running. Yes, it is. So when I come out to the shop to work, I have a spreadsheet that tells me what to do. And it said I needed more 6-inch trays and more 4-inch mini trays. So I don't ask questions. I do what this spreadsheet tells me to do. There you go. Anyway, I'm pretty excited about getting the thermal situation sorted out. Now over here on the VMC side of things, I have 42 gallons of coolant, but I don't care. I mean, I'm not worried about that thermal mass. I'm just worried about it grinding. And I'm not going to do anything about heating that. So we shall see what happens. Cool. Well, it's that time of the broadcast to ask you guys what you're working on. What are you working on today? I know Adam's working because Adam is breathing. So Adam is in the shop making amazing things. Almost Machining says, No, I don't plan on piping the coolant all over the cast. I just want the coolant to roughly match what's going on upstairs in the grinder. So the grinder seems to come up to temperature, not super fast, but a lot faster than the coolant. I mean, the grinder itself went from 57 to 67. It came up 10 degrees in that couple hours, right? Few hours. And the coolant came up 5 degrees. So the thermal mass is all in the coolant. All I really want to do is get this number to roughly match these numbers. And I'm not looking for tenths of a degree. Yeah, I agree, Paul. You could probably hack it. Adam is making Eroa pallets. That's very exciting. Are you going to get an Eroa pallet changer in your shop? Because I want to see where you're going to fit after you put an Eroa pallet changer in your shop. Yeah, so I can put. Let me take that as homework. I will put the bubbler, the heater, and the control. I will put links in the description of this video for what I'm using. But it was very inexpensive. The only thing I don't have an order number for is the little air pump, because I already had one. Chris is revamping a corner of your shop. Well, I look forward to seeing your progress, man. Almost says, just avoid a race condition. That would be scary. Bart is not in the shop today. What are you doing? But yesterday, tried to get a deep square hole with a sinker EDM. It's challenging to keep the corners sharp. Yes. I'm looking forward to... Where's Ox Tools? Would somebody get Ox Tools on the phone? And we want to see some EDM action. I'm going to have to ping him. Adam says, for now, I am the pallet changer. I am the pallet changer. I'm going to get that for you on a t-shirt. The pallet changer. I am the pallet changer. Hey, Tuck. Welcome aboard, man. Were you hanging in the wings? What were you doing? You're late, dude. All right, so you guys are doing great things. I appreciate you. I'm happy to get these stones done today so I can get orders out. Oh, Tom was well the other night. We didn't talk about the EDM. I hope the EDM is going okay, because I could imagine that he might have some serious frustrations if that thing is not doing its thing. Oh, yeah. So Tuck is moving the shop around to fit your new CNC. Hey, Tuck, remind us what the CNC you just got is. K-Bonk is enjoying 3 things: sauerkraut, pickled radishes, and pressing in pins. Do not press the radishes in the holes. Yes, we want to hear about your new machine there, Tuck. By the way, Tuck was the first guest on the live because, Tuck got a Fidal 15 X-Ray Tango. Congratulations, buddy. Can't wait to see some videos. Pretty neat. So Tuck was a guest. If you go back and you find the PFG Live where Tuck was there, this was reporting after the trade show named... You know the name, from Chicago. Tuck was a guest, but he had Instagram Live going. We had a guest on Instagram Live, and then we had him on on YouTube. So he was the first time we tested that system, and it was awesome. 60 Ticket Recorder says, I'm surface grinding Stellite and also running a Makino U6 Heat EDM today. Nice. Where are you located, 60 Ticket? Can I call you 60? How's the audio, by the way? Has the audio been solid? We're just using this is the same audio as before. The only thing, we have everything shut down except for a little bit of spindle action on the machine, on the grinder. Brian says he had a Fidel 15 X-Ray Tango. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it'll be tight in the shop, but you know, it's a CNC machine. You don't need room for the operator. You just need room for the machine. Thank you, DJ. Portsmouth. Okay, so now, do you know how many Portsmouths I know? Are you in my Portsmouth? Are you like right down the street? Thank you, K-Bonk. So I'll tell you a funny story about Portsmouth. But you have to answer my question first. Which you have to put a state on that. So, some of you may know that I used to fly gliders, and one of the things we did in gliders is we earned badges with the FAI, the International Aviation Federation, except in French, it's FAI. And one of the things you had to do is fly a 300-kilometer triangle. Okay. So my buddy, actually it's not Portsmouth, it's a different town, but you'll get the humor. So my buddy came up with a 300-kilometer triangle, and you know they had certain requirements for the angles and stuff, and it was out of Plymouth, Massachusetts, which is also where I took my test. So his 300-kilometer triangle was Plymouth, Plymouth, Plymouth. And it was a legal 300-kilometer FAI triangle. And it was Plymouth, Massachusetts, Plymouth, Vermont, and Plymouth, New Hampshire. And just, you know, for your edification, that is a legal 300-kilometer FAI glider triangle. So Plymouth, Plymouth, Plymouth. I bet you we can come up with a Portsmouth, Portsmouth, Portsmouth. That's pretty funny. Well, welcome, neighbor. Nice to make your acquaintance. How are we doing on time? We got 8 minutes before the top of the hour. I am so relieved that all the tech works today that I don't have much else to share with you. Nothing much else happened this week except boxes. 167 of them. I know I mentioned that already. And because my mom might be watching, it was a pleasure. An absolute pleasure. I even threw out a box. Look right there. How does that work? Whoop. I emptied a box myself, and I'm about to throw it out. Well, in the absence of further data here, I'm going to say have a nice day. And spend some time with your family. I hope you guys have plans for this magnificent weekend. I do. I'm getting ready for the painters to show up. So we have some painting going on. Oh, Almost has a question for the crew. Who is selling Canode Blue? I can't keep mixing trash, and Aqua Wash doesn't wash once something's stained. K-Bonk, take care, man. So if anybody has a lead on Canode Blue, Please let Almost Machining know. By the way, Almost, I do have an account with DAPRA, so I can order you some if you need to. Take care, Kevin. DJ, have fun. Carl, we'll check you later. Somebody find Almost some Canode Blue, please. All right, guys, be safe in the shop. See you, Tuck. Thanks for being here. Successful termination of our first YouTube-only PFG Live. We will continue down this path. Now I'm excited that everybody showed up. If nobody showed up, I would have been a little concerned. Take care, Chipload. Have a good one. And with that, happy Sunday, everyone. Take care, Bart. Have fun. Kevin, see you later. Where's Adam? Adam, put down that Aroa pallet and just let us know you're okay. I'm not killing this thing until I see Adam tell me he's okay. Thanks, Almost. You be safe too. Where are you, Adam? Take care, Brian. Have a fun day. We'll see you next week. Okay, no Adam. Well, Adam, if you're listening and you're up to your elbows in oil, we'll catch you next week. Take care, Paul. Have fun. Ciao for now.